back to the channel, everybody. If you're new here, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps support the channel. Today we're going to talk about Racelabs again. I just realized it's been like a year since I did the last Racelabs video. Figured it was time to do an update just based on new features, things that I use on a regular basis, things that I'm starting to use now, and how and why I use them. So let's go ahead and we're gonna break on into that. Okay, so I just took a replay from the other night to make it easy so you guys can see. We're all accustomed to this view from my live streams. If you're not, I suggest you go check them out. They're usually a pretty good time. I've got a whole group of guys that we have a good time with. But hidden behind my camera here where you can see me is usually my iRacing default black box. I kind of just cover it during the streams because really you guys are getting the same thing anyways via the Racelabs, so no point in throwing up duplicate stuff here. So but usually my default to run is we've got the track map in the upper right. As you can see, it doesn't look anything like it did in the first Racelabs how-to video. I also have in the bottom left here the relative screen and some major adjustments since then. On my other screens, and you can't see them here, but on my left screen here, I've moved my standings. It used to be in the upper left corner way back when. I have since moved that over to my left screen as it's not as important as the relative is to me. Also on the right screen down here in the bottom, I've moved my fuel calculator just to kind of give my stream a little bit more view. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and kill the camera, and we're going to drag a few things on screen so that way you guys can see things a little bit better here. So now that we've got things on screen here, you can see this is a lot of information to put all onto one screen, which with me running triples makes things a little bit easier to handle, to use, because there's just some things that you don't necessarily need direct on your screen, and that's fine. You know, everybody's going to have personal preference. I like to keep the standings that you see in the upper left corner here to where I can see as much as possible. The relative I pared down so that way I can put it on my main screen and I can run off my relative, and then, you know, if I'm coming on pit road, coming off of pit road, I can glance over, see what the standings look like, see where I'm at, and that sort of thing. Fuel calculator, kind of the same thing. Move that off to the side just so I have more visible space. And you can change sizes on these boxes to make things different. I'm going to bring my Racelabs control panel up on my other screen here, and then we'll just mess with the standings. And I know you guys won't be able to see this very easy, but we're going to make some adjustments. And you can adjust how many are in your top drivers. And then you can also adjust down the amount of drivers ahead and the amount of drivers behind. So if you wanted to keep the standings in the upper left corner, you could. I prefer to see it all, so I leave it off on my other screen. Especially when I'm super speedway racing, you don't really want this box in a corner where it's going to block a view, something like that. And you can make the same adjustments with the relative down here as well. The amount of people in front and behind. One thing that I did want to note, in as far as the way that my relative is updated these days, I have since turned off the safety rating box to give myself some more room. As you can see, I have two different boxes that'll show current stint, so that would be, you know, whatever fuel run you're in, and as well as it'll show how many laps on a current tire compound. More helpful for if you're doing like IMSA style racing. You want to know if somebody double stinted tires or that sort of thing. I still keep the same strength of field in the upper left, incident point counter. As you can tell, this race was not kind to me. I was already at 14 incident points and we're only 2 laps in. Or I think we ended at 14 incident points. The other thing that you'll notice is down next to the number 15, there's 2 icons. Okay, so one thing that you can do with anything in standings, and this is really handy, it'll show up mainly on the relative, but you can go through and add drivers to your list and then add various different tags, and they'll show up here on the left hand side. And this is just to kind of help you with, hey, these guys are bad drivers, these guys are great drivers, you know, people you want to work with, people you don't want to work with, friends on the track, and all of that sort of thing. The other thing that I would say that I mess with or have changed quite a bit is the track map. Now, this is a paid feature via Racelabs that is very handy if you've raced any NASCAR game ever. You've had a track map, I'm sure. I've changed the colors a little bit so it's easier to see during streams, as well as it's just easier for me as a reference point. To do that, all we have to do, you can go to the track and you can adjust the border color, you can change the track color, so whatever works for you. You can adjust the starting line color, the widths of the track, the finish line size, all of that stuff. And then you can adjust kind of the cars, like if you want the car number or you want the car position, the size of the dots going around the track. I'm still in the process of figuring out the custom image. As you can see here in the upper left or in the upper right corner, my image isn't exactly right yet. I'm working on that. But you can change the colors as far as that goes. Like we could change this to just flat out black. It'll let me. And it's probably not going to update at the moment because this is a replay. But it does make it to where it's a little bit easier for streamers, followers, yourself, just to look over and go, okay, this is where I'm at on the track, especially with a road course race. Very handy. Also, you can add your friends and as well change the color of your friends' cars, the border of them, all sorts of things. Also very handy, especially if you're doing super speedway racing, you want to know where your buddy's at on track. This really gives you a lot of view. Now, there is a smaller version of this called the mini track map. I don't particularly like it because it's hard for me to follow. So I mean, it's really just kind of preference. If you like more of an F1 feel, this is more of the F1 feel. I know guys say it's handy. Like I said, I like to be able to see what's coming up further in advance. That's why I usually just run the regular track map. Pretty customizable as well from size and all that stuff. Like, again, I haven't messed with it much. I know a couple of guys that have, and they really like it. One of the things that I've used lately that is really kind of fun to play with, and it's helped me a little bit, or helped some of my viewers understand what's going on when you're playing this game, is the heart rate monitor. You can use it with an Apple Watch. It's a little tricky. I really suggest the Polar, was it the H10 or HL10? Yeah, the H10. This is what I have right here. It's about $80. So if you want to add something to your streams that really comes off handy, or you just want to check and see how your body's reacting during sim racing. I know during a 2-week period where I tested this exclusively, just sim racing alone for a couple hours each day, I burned almost 4,000 calories. It was actually kind of insane. So something you might want to check out. You do have to have a Pulsoid account, which is free. And then you put the Pulsoid app on your phone, and you kind of do some Bluetooth stuff between the heart rate monitor and your phone, and then it'll link to your Pulsoid app, and it'll show up on screen. So check that out. It is kind of interesting. Okay, another thing that you're going to see showing up a little bit more in my streams or races, and I noticed this more from a endurance racing standpoint, especially when you're trying to make sure you're hitting lap after lap consistent, is the delta bar. It's more intuitive than the iRacing delta bar. It'll show your personal best for the session, it'll show the best on track, and it'll show your predicted. So it kind of keeps things up on screen a little bit better, which, like I said, I plan to run this a little bit more probably for like the Daytona 24 and stuff like that. So that's kind of just a brief overview of how my Racelabs has changed in the last year. Again, I would highly suggest, if you can afford it, do the paid version. It does give you a lot of various tools that are actually helpful. We keep seeing updates that keep giving us features, the newest one being the heart rate section, which I thought was probably just the coolest thing, because now I can actually say what kind of physicality sim racing can actually do. You know, if you have more screens that you can move some of this stuff off of, that's always for the best, just because you don't want to clutter your view too much. If you clutter the view, you're not going to be able to see certain things, and it's not going to be as enjoyable of an experience for you. You know, you could take all this stuff even and put it above or on a screen to the right if you only use iRacing on one screen, and then that way you can put it over a background and just have it all there. It all kind of depends on what works the best for you. Again, play with it, see what makes the most sense. And you know, make the game more enjoyable for you. That's really what Racelabs does. It gives you as much information as you could want or ever need. I can say that. You know, there's been some things that I've tried that I've taken off, that I didn't necessarily care for, and kind of went back and simplified it a little bit with some tweaks. But if anybody has any questions related to this, I'll make sure my Discord's in the bottom. You can get a hold of me directly, or you can go through my server. I also will include a link to the first video where we discuss a lot of things in Racelabs more specifically than this video, so make sure you check that out. You know, like I said, give that a try. If this doesn't work for you, another thing to look at is SimHub. SimHub gives you a lot of different features. I have yet to really harness that. I'm still working with that. It'll also allow for you can use iPads and stuff like that as dashboards and stuff. So maybe at some point we'll do a video on that. But thank you everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you on the next one.